Welcome to Geometry Dash 101, where I will teach you how to build a complete Geometry Dash level. This includes the layout deco and the methods that will help streamline your creation process. Today's video is about how to make a fair layout. The first thing you want to do when making a layout is to ensure that it is balanced. What I mean by that is that there are no stupidly hard clicks that make the layout overall unpleasant to play. For example, if let's say this click was a lot buffed, whether it was a fully scaled spikes, it would be a lot less fun as the first click is much harder. I have just done it first try there. I am slightly surprised. But if you get the gist, this click is probably going to be harder than the rest of this layout, which I don't even have these spikes near. They probably won't stop you from hitting these pink orbs. And this click here isn't that hard, to be honest. It's pretty well synced. Yeah, there you go. Now I died to it. So what I did is simply scale down the spike a bit to about 0.6, and now it's a much easier click, and you can do this little bit of gameplay that I made. The second tip I want to give is to make sure your gameplay flows. What I mean by that is the gameplay doesn't have any random transitions, and it actually has smooth transitions. This level, which I found on Recent tab, is a good example of good gameplay, because the gameplay very definitely flows into each other. And this is just done through the use of the jump pads and the general just positioning style of gameplay, and it is very satisfying to play. I would say the drop in this level is not great, as good, but it is a good example. Next level I have is the exact opposite. It's a bit of a mess. It just has a lot of random things, and it has some blind stuff, and then it has this random person. It doesn't stick to one thing. It's very dull. It is a very short level, so maybe it's not an example. This unnamed green is, I'm gonna no clip this because it's quite a hard level, is very random and guilty of a lot of sins when it comes to making gameplay. If I open this up in the editor, you can see it's very choppy in here. It's very choppy, there's lots of TPs. I mean, this part in particular is a particular abomination because okay, I can't do the gameplay, I suck, I guess. But this portal, ooh, this really annoys me. So I'm going to just quickly, yeah. There's an issue here. The issue is you have no idea what that's going to do to your character, and it's very confusing. If you want to make good gameplay, you need to make sure that you use the game modes as intended, and you need to make it obvious what you're supposed to do, so the player is not confused at any point. Now that I have said what makes good gameplay, let me make some gameplay so you can watch my process and you may be able to replicate this. The song I've chosen is My Ordinary Life. It's quite a fun song. People will probably recognise it as this sort of song. To begin with, it has this very sort of slow section to it, so I've already set the speed down to be the slower speed, as it just makes it suit the music better, and that's one thing you need to be careful of. So first off, I'm just going to play the music and just click along. It doesn't matter what my character's doing, as long as I get these orange squares down which show where my clicks are. These are enabled if you go into this pause menu, click the settings, and then is one page across where it says show clicks, and that will just make these little orange dots pop up, which are very helpful. So I know that I'm clicking over something here, so I could add, let's say, a spike here, and I want to elevate myself so I'm not stuck on the ground, so I'm just going to add a bit of a structure here. Now I've got a couple of clicks here, so what I'm going to do, and what I've done in another layout, is just have this ascending staircase. But it doesn't quite work, so I'm going to put this up one and try again. That works better. So I can just have this, and we have the source. Then I'm going to have a bit of a transition here that just makes it flow a bit. by just having this gravity portal. And then you're going to flow into another structure here. And if you've noticed, I'm not just making the structures using these, I am adding a bit of depth to them just by having this. So you get a general idea for when you're decorating how intense the area might be. And now I think I'll add an orb here because I think a structure here wouldn't make much sense. Yeah, and I can just have another structure here that catches you, and it'll just work out quite well. Okay, so I added that structure, and now, when you hit that, you have this little blue orb that you hit. And if you wanted to make it so it's not an immediate buffer, you can just add a small spike here, so if you immediately click on it, you die. So if I click on it immediately, I die. But if I don't buffer it and I time it, I avoid a spike. And it just makes the gameplay a lot more interesting. If every single click is a buffer, then it's not going to be interesting gameplay. Unless it's like a 4 or 5 star. And here I think I'm just going to have a succession of 2 green orbs. And that will do very nicely. And at this point, I'm flying through the air. I probably either want a structure to catch me, or a transition into like a more floaty game mode. So I'm going to transition into ship here. That's a very important thing. If you're using start pauses, you need to make sure they're in the same places where you would be coming from if you had played from 0. Because otherwise it just gives an unfair representation of what the transition is like. And it means you won't know if it's a good transition or not. Okay, I just spent 5 minutes making some ship gameplay that I'm pretty happy with. I might fiddle with the transition, but apart from that, I'm pretty happy with it. Okay, so at this point my mic started bugging out, so I'm just going to do some commentary. I decided to make some moving platforms for this section that would fit the energy of this section because it does have more energy than the beginning, and I want there to be a bit of movement in the layout. Oops. That works, but I just need to flip this upside down. Maybe a couple more. This way. With the beginning of it. That's what I've come up with so far. I'm probably not going to make any more, but I feel like I'm really happy with this gameplay just because it does flow into each other quite well. The only transition I would say isn't great is into a ship. That's the one I would say needs working on. I would say it flows into each other quite well, so I'm happy with it. But it's up to you lot to decide. Also, an important thing to do with this is to make sure it is well marked. I've got these moving objects, so I have marked where they are, because otherwise people are going to be really confused. And when people are confused, they don't like gameplay. Now that I've shown you my process of making gameplay, I just want to lay down some final tips before I end today's video. Firstly, remember that sync isn't everything. I know numerous levels that have good sync, but are still very unpleasant to play. Next, do not have blind transitions or confusing jumps that are just hard to see because it's very frustrating dying to clicks that just don't seem fair. And finally, ensure that your gameplay is balanced. Do not have a stupidly hard section near the end, or don't have an annoying start, because it just means that the gameplay is overall a bit messy and people don't tend to enjoy it. Examples like Cataclysm having most of its difficulty in the first 40%, or Thinking Space 2, which most of its difficulty is in the final section. As long as you spend some time practicing, I am sure in no time, as long as you use these tips, you will become amazing at creating gameplay. Please feel free to like and subscribe if this video has helped you. Keep an eye on my shorts where I will be posting updates on layouts I am making, and thank you for watching.